the top of my book here. It might be so big that you can't even read it. That's why I'm going to let you see it. But you know, what's that big word there? God is omniscient. Omniscient. Now, if you were here the last 2 weeks, we have talked about what omniscient means, part of what omniscient means. Does anybody remember something that omniscient might mean and what it has to do with? Aiden, what do you think? Science. And what is science? Because we see that since. Science. What is science? In science, we learn things. Science is knowledge, right? Okay. So, science is knowledge. So, what's omni-knowledge? Omni-knowledge. What's omni-knowledge? God is... What are we learning about God? He has knowledge. Omni-knowledge. What's omni? Is that hard to understand, Jayla? Abby knows the answer. I think she's sitting next to somebody that knows the answer. Abby, what's the answer? All-knowing. Do you remember that? That God knows all things? Have we learned that anywhere else? That God knows all things? We haven't learned that anywhere else? What does it say? If our heart condemn us, God is greater than our heart and what? Knoweth all things. Who knows all things? God. God knows all things. So God knows all things. And you know what? I was thinking about our lesson today. And something I didn't say the last couple weeks about God's knowledge. Not only does God know everything that has ever happened. Not only does God know everything that is happening. God already knows everything that is going to happen. Now, nobody knows that, right? I mean, there's some people that fake it, that act like they can tell what's going to happen in the future. But nobody can do that. Only God has that kind of knowledge, right? Only God knows all things. He knows everything from the past, everything that's going on right now. It's not that He just knows what's going on here, and He knows what's going on across the street. He knows what's going on around the world. He knows, and not only what's going on, He knows what we're thinking and what we're doing. God knows everything. There's no way we can understand or comprehend how much God knows, and God knows what is going to happen. Now, in our story, we've been talking about, the Bible tells us, or we get the idea from the Bible, that this lady was a beautiful lady. And here she is right here. This is the last picture in our story last week. Can anybody remember the name of the beautiful lady in our story? Jayla can remember. Can anyone else remember the name of the lady in our story? Her name is actually also the name of the book of the Bible that our story is coming from. Eve is not a book of the Bible, but her name starts with the same letter as Eve. Okay, so Abby has an idea. Jayla says she knows. Carla says she knows. And I think I heard you saying the right name. If you think you know, say it all together with me on my signal. Ready?
Esther!
I think everybody knew it. That's right. Esther is this lady. And right here we see Esther has a crown on her head. She is the queen. Can anybody remember how she became the queen? 2 weeks ago we learned about how she became the queen. Right? There was a queen in Persia, and the drunk king wanted her to do something that was not good to do, and she was not going to do that. But since she disobeyed the king, all the rulers of all the wise men said, that's not good, because wives are supposed to obey their husbands. And so they made sure that the queen was not the queen anymore, and then a little bit while later they had a great big, what we would say, almost like a beauty pageant. And the king was able to pick the queen that he wanted from all those ladies, and he picked Esther. Now, what does the king? The king doesn't know at least one thing about Esther. Do you remember what he doesn't know? We know it, but the king doesn't know that Esther is, Aiden, you had your hand up first. Jewish. That's right. The king doesn't know that Esther is Jewish. What else does Esther have any parents that are alive? No. Who took care of Esther like a father? But not her father, because her father and mother were dead. Do you remember? Who was that? Her cousin, and his name was Mordecai, right? Okay. And Mordecai works around the palace. He's sitting in the gates and all that kind of stuff. But he's not. He just works in the palace. There's another man in the palace that is really, really important, right? Not the king, but Haman. Haman is very, very important. And does Haman like Mordecai? No, he does not like Mordecai. Why doesn't Haman like Mordecai? Why doesn't Haman like Mordecai?
Because he might be a Jew.
Well, that's close, but there's more to it than that. What is it, Jayla? That's right. Haman is so important that everybody bows down to Haman when he walks around. But does Mordecai bow down to Haman? No. And why doesn't Mordecai bow down to Haman? Because he's a Jew, right? And do Jews bow down to people or idols? No. Why? Because that's worship. And who should we all? There's only one person we should worship, right? God. And so the Jews worship God, and Mordecai is not going to bow down and worship Haman, and Haman hates that. He is so mad at Mordecai and all the Jews that he's decided that they all have to die, right? And he wrote a law and stamped it with the king's ring that said, on the 13th day of the 12th month, all the Jews must die. And everybody in the country is allowed to just do whatever they want to kill them and take all their stuff. Now, when Mordecai heard that, he was very upset, and he got a message to Queen Esther, and Queen Esther risked her life, didn't she? She risked her life. She went into the king's presence without being asked to come, and when she was there, this was what we had at the very end of our story last week. She asked the king for one thing. What did Esther ask the king for? In his presence, when she went there, what did she ask the king for? I think Carlos might know the answer. What?
To come to her palace and have dinner.
To come to her palace and have dinner. Now that is kind of, the king must have thought, there's Esther, I haven't invited her, she must have a very important request. And she said, "O king, if you are pleased with me, I would like you to come to my part of the palace for a special dinner, for a banquet." So I'm sure King Ahasuerus was thinking, what is going on? Why would she have me for a dinner? But she also asked for someone else to come to the dinner, right? Who else? Who else did she want to come to the dinner? Haman. Now the king thought, now I'm the most important in the country. Haman is my assistant. He's just second. Why would Esther want Haman to come to a special banquet? But, nevertheless, he told Haman, get your stuff, we're going to the queen's for a banquet. Now, they were there at the banquet. Yep. They were there at the banquet, and then the king says to Queen Esther, they've eaten all their food, everybody is very satisfied. Have you ever had just a perfect meal, and you just feel it's just super good? And the king says to Esther, what do you think the king asked Esther at that meal? Yeah, what else do you want? I can't believe that you would just come and ask me just to come to dinner. So the king says to Esther, oh, Esther, what is it that you would like? I will give you anything you want, up to as much as half of the kingdom. What do you want? And Queen Esther, I can imagine she was kind of scared. I don't know exactly, but I can imagine she was kind of scared. And Queen Esther said, "O king, if I have pleased you, and if you would do whatever I want, would come tomorrow night for dinner. That sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? But Esther must have been kind of scared. It was a big thing that was going to happen. It was possible that she would have to die, and the man that wanted to kill her and all of her people was right there at her place. And she just, I don't know why, but she said, will you come to dinner tomorrow? Now listen, we don't know why Esther did that, but God knew, didn't he? God knew. And so King said, sure, we'll come back tomorrow. And she said, tomorrow I will tell you what my real request is. Because they knew that she didn't just want him to come to dinner. So, on the way after that dinner, here's Haman. He went home to his family, and Haman thought, now, remember, Haman is the second most important person in the country. He comes home to his family and says, I'm so happy. You guys need to know I have sons. I have 10 sons. I have riches. I have so much money, and I have power. The king has made me the second most important person in the country. And he was all happy, and he said, except there's one thing that makes all of it doesn't mean a single thing. It doesn't matter that I have riches because of this one thing. It doesn't matter that I have all this power because of this one man. It doesn't matter that I got to go to the queen's banquet because of this one man. There's one man that makes it so that none of this makes any difference in the world to me. I hate this man. Who did Haman hate? Mordecai. That's right. In fact, on the way out from Haman's banquet with the queen, he went out and there was Mordecai. You think Mordecai stood up and worshipped him? No, he just sat there. Haman saw that, and his anger was filled up, but he did not lose his temper right then. He went home and he told his family, and so his wife said, you know what you should do? You have all this power, and you have plenty of money and riches. You ought to build a tower that's higher than the city gates. And then go ask the king tomorrow if you can hang Mordecai on that tower, because he is just such trouble to you. And he thought, that's true, I ought to do that. And so, he got his sons and his helpers, and they started building. And they had enough, they were able to build quickly. I don't know, it didn't have to be real strong, but he built 75 feet tall, higher than the city walls, a big tower that they could hang Mordecai on. And so they were working on that through the afternoon and through the night. And in the morning, Haman's like, I am going to see the king, and I'm going to get his permission, and we're just going to take care of Mordecai. He's going to be done for. Well, that night, the king could not sleep. The king couldn't sleep. Have you ever tried to go to sleep and just things were going through your head, and you just could not sleep? I've been that way, and I can imagine the king was laying down to sleep and he thought, Esther risked her life to ask me to go to dinner. And then I went to her dinner, and she asked me to come to dinner tomorrow. What does Esther want? I don't understand. I don't know. And he couldn't sleep. And thinking, and he couldn't sleep. And finally, he thought, I know what will help me go to sleep. How many of you have ever tried to count sheep to go to sleep? I've never tried to count sheep, but some people count sheep going to sleep. How many of you have ever fallen asleep in history class? The king says, I know what will make me go to sleep. I'm going to have my servant read the records of the nation. So, he was wide awake. I'm sure his servant was sleeping over there. He went out there and shook him and said, hey, I can't go to sleep. You can't be sleeping if I can't sleep. Get the records and start reading the records to me. And so I can imagine that the guy puts his book out, starts reading. See there, he's reading and saying, on this day, so-and-so did this. Okay? And the next day, and he's just reading and reading and reading, and nothing would put the king to sleep. He was wide awake. He could not sleep. He's wide awake. He kept listening and listening, and very, very boring. Nothing to keep you awake. But he could not sleep. It got to be very late in the night, almost more like early in the morning, but kind of before most everybody's awake. And he said, oh, stop. Repeat that. Repeat what you just read. And the man said, Well, it says, 2 gatekeepers conspired against the king to kill him. Mordecai, who was sitting in the gate, heard it and reported it to the king. The king's detectives investigated the matter, and it was true, and the 2 gatekeepers were killed. And the king said, there's nothing else after that? The man reading it said, no, there's nothing else after that. And the king said, you mean there's nothing was ever done for Mordecai? No, nothing was ever done for Mordecai. And the king thought, Mordecai saved my life, and nothing has ever been done for Mordecai. You know, I need to do something to honor and be kind to Mordecai. And then he heard a noise. He said, where's that noise? So he looked, and there was Haman. Now, we got to think now. Here's the king. What does he think? What's in the king's mind? I need to do something to help Mordecai. Here's Haman. What's in Haman's mind? I hate Mordecai. I've got a gallows and I want to hang him from the gallows. And Mordecai thinks he's something, right? So, in fact, everyone else had to come to the king's throne room. Where's Mordecai coming? He's coming to the king's bedroom. And he comes in there and the king says, who's that? And he says, oh, it's Haman. Oh, bring Haman in. And Haman is just about to say, King, and the king says, Haman, I need your help. And Haman's like, of course you need my help, right? He says, what should I do to somebody that I want to honor and I want to be very kind to? And Haman, what does Haman think? The Bible tells us Haman thinks, who else would the king want to be kind to but me, right? So he says, King, this is what you should do. You should have one of your noble princes get one of the robes that you have worn, and then have him get your horse, your royal horse, and then have him go to that man that you want to honor, and have him put your robe on his shoulders, put him up on your horse, and then have that royal prince lead this man through the streets of your city, through the streets of the capital city, and yell loud, this is what the king does to the man that he wants to honor. And the king thought, that is a super idea. Haman, you are a royal prince. I want you to get one of my royal robes and take it along with my royal horse and find Mordecai. He sits in the gate. You think Haman knew where Mordecai was? He sure did. He said, find Mordecai and put my robe on him and put him up on my horse, and you lead him through the city and let everyone know this is what the king does to the man that he wants to honor. Oh my. What do you think Mordecai thought then? What do you think Haman thought then? Haman wanted to kill Mordecai, and now he has to lead Mordecai through the streets, saying what a great man he is. And here he is. He's leading him through. I can imagine Mordecai sitting up there, happy and smiling, because the king was kind to him and honored him. And I can imagine Haman. I don't know if he shouted very loudly. You think he shouted very loudly? He probably said, this is what the king does to people he wants to honor. And he went through the streets, honoring Mordecai, the man that he wanted to kill that very same day. He finally finished with his job, and he went home. And when he got home, he thought, remember how he came home the day before? He was all happy. He was like, I'm such a special man. I went to the queen's banquet. Today, he comes home and says, this is a bad, terrible day. You will never believe what happened. And he told his family what happened to him. And his friend said to him, Mordecai is a Jew. You are in big trouble. Now, why do you think he's in big trouble? Because the it's the messengers from the king says it's time for the dinner with Queen Esther. So Haman had to get up, and he went with the king to the dinner with Queen Esther. And he's there, and the king is there, and they had this super food. It was even better. I'm sure. It was even better than the day before. And there they're eating, and finally they got to the last course, and they finished up the last of the food, and the king, what's the king thinking? Why does Esther have me? What does Esther want? And so he says to Queen Esther, he says, Esther, what is it that you want? Whatever you want, I would give it to you, even up to half of my kingdom. And Esther got up, and Esther said, O king, if I have pleased you, and if you would do what I want, I ask you to save my life and the life of my people. There is someone in our kingdom that would want to kill me and all my people. And the king was like, somebody wants to kill my queen and all her people? Who would want to do something like that? And Queen Esther said, the vile, despicable man is Haman. Haman, well, I am a Jew, and Haman wants to kill all the Jews. And you can imagine the king was very upset. He went up. He stood up and he went out into the garden. And he was walking around, pacing back and forth, thinking, what am I going to do? Haman has signed a law, and the law of the Medes and Persians cannot be changed. And the law says the Jews have to die, and my wife, the queen, is a Jew. Haman wants to kill my wife, and he's outside in the garden. And Queen Esther is there, and Haman is there, and Haman was like, oh my. It was bad all day long, and now he's being accused by the queen of trying to kill her. And he goes over to her, and I don't know why he did this, but he grabbed a hold of her. And he grabbed a hold of her, trying to beg for mercy or something. And so he is grabbing a hold of Queen Esther. And the king comes back in from the garden, and what does he see? He sees Haman grabbing a hold of Queen Esther, and he thinks, he is trying to kill her right now. And his servants were there, and he yelled, and they put a hood over top of Haman's head, and they grabbed him. And one of the servants said, you know, look, there's a big tower in Haman's house that he was going to hang somebody on. And the king said, hang Haman on that tower. And so they took Haman, and they hung him on the tower that Haman wanted to kill Mordecai on. And so, everything changed around really quick there, didn't it? Now, I don't have time to keep going, but there's one last thing that is not taken care of, isn't there? There's one thing that is not taken care of. God knows about it. Do you know what it is? You would. I told you about it. In fact, I just said it a minute or two ago. Something is still a law and is still going to happen even if Haman is dead. The Jews are going to die, right? On the 13th month, on the 13th day of the 12th month, there's a law that says all the Jews must die. And those laws, the laws of the kings of the Medes and Persians, cannot be changed. How will that be taken care of? Do you know how that's going to be taken care of? Do you even know how to take care of something like that? You can't change the law. Who knows how we can take care of that?